But not all disputes with neighbours are wall-to-wall laugh out louds, are they? Our lawyer, Ayesha Nayyar, is here with practical advice on how to make sure you and your neighbours remain on speaking terms. Lovely to see you, Ayesha.
Thank you.
It is an interesting one, this, isn't it? What are the main things that people are arguing with their neighbours about?
OK, the big one is noise. OK, apart from Northern Ireland, there's a myth that you can make as much noise as you want, for example, in daylight hours, or if you're about to have a party and you warn your neighbours, that's OK. The test is quite simple. If the noise is significant and unreasonable and it affects your neighbour's enjoyment or use of property, then it is likely to be actionable. Sadly, no one's got the right to complete silence, but we do have to assess the noise that's coming over before we decide whether or not it's actionable. So look at, for example, how loud is it, how often is it, what time is it, what's the character of the noise. It's got to be unreasonable in nature for it to be a noise nuisance. There's a brilliant term called lifestyle noise. So the dog barking next door, the kids playing in the garden, next door's microwave pinging, toilets flushing. They can all drive us nuts. But to some extent, it's live and let live, and we've got to put up with noise like that.
I love that there's a thing called lifestyle noise, and that's where you have to
yeah.
so,
deal with it.
What if your neighbours then are doing what you think is more than lifestyle noise?
OK, if it's more than lifestyle noise, then you are going to have to approach them about it. So again, take a deep breath, stay calm, and then go over. You might not want to go over when you're all heated up. Just take it easy, go over. Be as polite as possible and let your neighbour know what the noise is, how it's affecting you, and what solution they can come up with. So, for example, if it's your next-door neighbour's son and he's playing the drums during a certain time in the day, arrange for a time where it's OK for him to practice. Maybe you want to take the dog for a walk. Or if it's DIY work and that's just driving you nuts, suggest a time. If you're a shift worker, the lawn's being mowed, again, work with your neighbours to try and solve the issue. If you can't face going over, or you've tried it, you might want to write them a polite letter, again, coming up with a solution. If it's a tenanted property, speak to the landlord. If it's housing association, again, you can notify them. You can suggest mediation as well to your neighbour, and both of you can toddle along and see if you can resolve it. And if all of that doesn't work, you've tried everything, then you can go to the Environmental Health Department of your local council. And what they will do is, again, if it's just lifestyle noise, next door neighbour's kids playing, although it's driving you mad, it's not really a noise nuisance.
Yeah.
What they'll do is they'll come out, they'll first of all, they'll write to your neighbour and they'll let them know that one of the neighbours has complained about the noise. They won't say who it is, but your neighbour might be able to guess, be wary of that. If that doesn't work, they may come out and actually investigate what the noise is. They'll suggest you keep a diary. If none of that works and it escalates, then they can issue what's called a noise abatement order to stop your neighbour, and your neighbour can be fined up to £5,000.
But it sounds like, on the first instance, a bit of negotiation, a bit of polite negotiation.
It's in everyone's best interest.
Yeah. What about other problems then? So we've dealt with noise. What are the other big things?
OK, parking, that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you want to park your car right outside your house, and you've lived in that house for 20 years, you've always parked outside, and now all of a sudden everyone's parking their cars, everyone's back, kids are back from university, we're all working from home, so you want that space right outside. What you've got to remember is you own the house, you don't own the road. Unfortunately, you've got no right to park directly outside your house, unless there's local parking regulations that do apply. With, for example, neighbours blocking your driveway, strangely enough, unless it's an obstructing the road, they are entitled, they're allowed to do that. If there's a drop curb, however, you can report it to your local police and they can come out and issue a parking ticket. And obviously nobody wants that. That'll definitely work.
Yeah. And what are your top tips overall then? OK,
so top tips. First of all, I'd say keep a diary, have a complete record of what's going on and how it's affecting you. You can actually record with your phone or some other kind of equipment within your house itself. You can't poke it over the neighbours and start recording their garden. That's a criminal offence.
Yeah.
But what's going on within your house, you can record as evidence. If you're the neighbour that's being complained about, what should you do? Well, be prepared to justify your position. Maybe you want to keep a diary of your own as well.
Yeah.
And if environmental health come knocking, be able to justify your position. Remember, legal disputes can be costly, they can be stressful, and they can be lengthy. It's in everyone's best interest to try and resolve the issue. And then as a final point, remember, when it comes to selling your house, you may need to notify any prospective buyers that you've got an ongoing dispute with your neighbours. So at this stage, my best tip would be try and resolve it amicably.
Yeah, sort it out. Ayesha,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you so much. Lovely to chat to you, as
Thank
ever,
you.
and such good advice.